Buongiorno and welcome to Lisa's Italian Kitchen. Today I'm making for you the mother of all tomato sauces, my Sunday sauce. So many of you have asked, what's the difference between ragu and Sunday sauce or Sunday gravy, as some Italian Americans call it? Well, the difference is ragu is with ground meat, and I've made my ragu for you before in videos. And Sunday sauce is with the whole meats. So as you can see here, I'll be using the whole meats today. We have here all the ingredients for my classic 3-meat meatballs, Italian sausage, veal chops, and pork ribs. And that's what we'll be using in the Sunday sauce. What I do is I make these meats, I braise them, and then I put them into my pot of classic tomato sauce, which I made earlier and which all of you are familiar with, both from my cookbook and my videos. And then these meats will cook in this classic red sauce for hours until we go to table to enjoy our fabulous Sunday sauce. Classically in the United States, Italian Americans, we love to use ziti with our Sunday sauce, so I'll be making the ziti. And then we serve it, first the pasta or the ziti with the tomato sauce. We remove the meats, and then we serve the meats separately for our second course with a green. And today I'll be making scarola, my Nana's favorite. So, no time to waste, let's go. Here we go. So here I have a half a pound of veal, ground veal, a half a pound of Italian sausage, ground, and I have a pound of ground beef. I used the 85/15, so just the right amount of fat. Now, a little trick that I employ that my grandmother taught me many years ago was I take the mollica. The mollica is the white part of Italian bread. And what we do is we soak it with some whole milk. Not too much, just to get it nice and moist. And then what we do is we squeeze. And we're gonna squeeze the milk into the mollica, or the white of the bread, and then we're going to squeeze the milk out like that and put it in our mixing bowl. Some people use breadcrumbs in their meatballs. I use this instead because it really gives a lovely texture to the meatballs and holds them together beautifully. And also, it's something my grandmother taught me from Sicily, my grandmother from Sicily, who was a fabulous cook, my Nana. So here we go. We're gonna mix all the meats, our ground meat, our ground veal, our ground pork or Italian sausage with all the spices. The Italian sausage already has the fennel in it and the Italian spices. I have 3 cloves of garlic chopped, so I'm going to add that. I'm going to add some salt, Sicilian sea salt, fine, just about, these are small spoons, so they would equal 1 teaspoon. A little bit of ground black pepper, not too much. And just a pinch of oregano. This is Italian oregano that I bring back from Italy, but you can also buy it here in the United States. Now, I like to just chop up a little bit of my fresh Italian parsley as well. You can either chop it with a knife very finely, or I just like to break it up into pieces. And we're gonna mix all of this into our meatballs. The fresh Italian parsley gives the meatball such a fresh flavor. So I love to add this along with my Italian oregano. Now, of course, as many of you know, I'm a huge fan of Italian pomodoro concentrato, which is what we call tomato paste. And so I use Italian tomato paste. I'm going to put about a tablespoon in, that's all. Because remember, your meats are already very moist. You've got a lot of fat in your beef and your pork. So you don't want to add too much more of the moisture to your meats. I'm using my Partana olive oil, which is my favorite. My grandmother came from this town, Castelvetrano in Sicily. It's my favorite olive oil to use. And I'm just going to coat the bottom of a saute pan. And I like to fry my meatballs in the olive oil before I add them to my tomato sauce. So now I'm going to mix these and make my meatballs. So now I've mixed my 3 meats. Make sure, since you're using 3 meats, that you get them very well mixed. So you get all 3 meats in each meatball, along with my garlic, fresh herbs, oregano, salt, and pepper. So now we're going to fry them in the Partana olive oil, and then I'm going to add them right into the Sunday sauce, my classic sauce, which I've made. While those begin cooking in the Sunday sauce, I'll braise my other meats. We'll add those to the pan, and then we'll let them all cook for hours till the meat literally starts falling off the bone of the veal chops and the pork ribs, the Italian sausage. But I like to braise all my meats first to seal in the juices. This is why you're going to have a very, very rich Sunday sauce or Sunday gravy, because of all the juices from the meats that are going into the classic red sauce. Yum. It's a classic for a reason. So, Sunday sauce does take quite a few hours to prepare. But these are the classic dishes that every now and then it's so wonderful to make for your family, friends, neighbors, because these are occasion dishes. You eat all afternoon, start at the table with your first course of your ziti in the classic sauce. And remember, your classic sauce is going to be flavored by the meat. It's going to be so delicious after you take the meats out of the sauce. Then we're going to serve the meat separately with a green for our second course. And yes, it takes a little longer, but every now and then, it's just such a special dish. Everybody enjoys it and loves it. And such a classic in Italian-American households. So there we go. I've rolled all my meatballs. We're going to allow the ones that are in the pan to brown. And then we'll add them to our classic Sunday sauce. And I want to point out, I know I've shown everyone in videos before, but I like to put my garlic, 5 or 6 cloves on a toothpick and let it soak in my classic red sauce along with my basil leaves. And that way, if you want to take this garlic out, some people don't enjoy eating the garlic in their sauce. So you've flavored your sauce with the fresh garlic. The basil basically disintegrates. I'm going to add some more fresh basil at the end. But you can remove your garlic. I've got 2 or 3 of these toothpicks in here with the garlic on them. And then remove them, but you still have the delicious flavor of the garlic in the sauce. So many of my meatballs are thoroughly cooked, so I'm going to be putting them into the sauce, and they're going to cook for hours more in the tomato sauce, get nice and tender. I like to brown my meatballs all around, as you can see, seal in all the juices, and then the inside is going to cook very thoroughly in the hours that it's going to be in the sauce with all the other meats. that I'm going to braise now. And I'm going to braise my other meats right here in the olive oil from the meatballs. I'll add a little more olive oil, and then I'll scrape up all the garlic, some of the garlic that fell out of the meatballs, so that we have all of those wonderful flavors. So we'll just wait for these meatballs to get nice and brown, and then we'll do our other meat. All my meatballs are cooked or browned, and they're in the sauce to start cooking thoroughly. I'm gonna add a little more olive oil to my pan, and now I'm going to brown my Italian sausages and the veal chop. When these get nice and brown, braised on all sides, we'll put them in the sauce to join the meatballs. Then I'll do the pork ribs, and we'll be all done with our meat. I'm gonna add a little fresh basil on top, and we'll let the Sunday sauce cook away for hours. Okay, we have our Italian sausages nice and browned and braised. We're gonna add these to the classic red sauce to join the meatballs. Look at that beautiful veal chop. Nicely browned on all sides, so this is going to cook as well. And now I'm going to put my pork ribs in and braise them on all sides. So now my pork ribs, look how beautifully browned they're getting. And I really like to keep the olive oil from the other meats in the pan because it already has the pieces of garlic from the meatballs, some of the parsley, and so it gives more flavor to the meat. Now, I do want to mention that today I used the particular meats that I selected, the Italian sausage, of course, my meatballs, the veal chops, which I love. I love the tenderness of veal in the sauce. And these happen to be country-styled ribs. If you prefer to use baby back ribs, that's fine too, and give a wonderful flavor to your sauce. In my family, we're kind of particular to country-style ribs because they're so meaty. And all of this meat, much of this meat, is going to fall off into the sauce. So really for a delicious flavor. But again, you can choose the Italian meats that you would like to add to your Sunday gravy. So we'll just brown these a little more. Put them on their sides. Then all of our meats will be added to the Sunday sauce. We're gonna put the lid on and let it cook away. Heaven in a pot. So our country style ribs have gotten beautifully braised and browned on all sides. So we're gonna add these now to our Sunday sauce. Look at that, our pot is almost overflowing. Nice and full. And this will cook, I like to let this cook for a good 6 to 8 hours. Depending on what time you start, in about 4 hours, all the meats will be cooked thoroughly through. But just let it cook for as long as you can, and the meats will be so tender, the sauce will be very flavorful from all the juices from the meats, and you'll have a fabulous, memorable Sunday dinner. So let's cover it up, and we'll be back in a little while. So now I'm chopping my green to serve with the secondo, or the second course, which will be the meat from our classic red sauce, Sunday sauce, with the different meats in them. So what we usually do is serve either a salad, a tossed salad, an Italian salad, or a green with our second course of the meat from Sunday sauce. You can choose bietola, which is Swiss chard in the United States, or scarola, which was my grandmother's favorite. So scarola comes in a head. I've just taken the leaves off and washed them. You'll notice scarola is a little lighter green than Swiss chard or kale, which are darker green. But it's a very pleasant taste. Scarola is escarole is a little bitter, just a bit. So what I do is I saute about 6 or 7 cloves of garlic chopped up in olive oil. I'm gonna wait until this gets nice and hot, chop my escarole and toss it in there. Then at the end, I add just a little bit of Sicilian sea salt, and it's really a perfect green. It's light and delicious. Escarole is also really good with white beans and tuna as a salad or as a side dish. It's a very, very versatile green. So I'm gonna serve escarole today with the meat from the Sunday sauce for my second course. And now I hear the garlic. It's talking to me. Listen to that sizzle. And what a smell. Again, sorry we don't have smell-o-vision. So we just cut it. I always use a plastic knife that I use for any greens, to cut any greens. This does not make the edge of your greens brown when you're cutting them, and cuts nice and straight on your greens. I never use a metal knife cutting my greens. So since I hear the garlic beginning to sizzle, so the time is right, we'll just pop this in there, and it's gonna wilt down and be absolutely delicious. Hear that? It's ready to go. That's the sizzle. I also love to put a little bit of crushed red pepper on top of my escarole after I cook it with the Sicilian sea salt, the garlic, and the extra virgin olive oil. But this is done in 2 minutes. Makes a perfect green side. My favorite greens are Swiss chard, escarole, and Tuscan kale, which in the United States we call black kale. Then there's also the curly kale. But you know, some people find kale a little too strong of a taste, and escarole and Swiss chard are a more mild green, sort of along the lines of the spinach family. They're all sort of, let's call them first cousins, because we're Italian. Everybody's a cugino. So all our greens are related. They're all cousins. And they're all good for you and delicious. Okay, listen to that sizzle. Put in the last of my escarole. Scarola, as my beloved Nana from Sicily used to call it. Scarola is very popular on the island of Sicily. It grows wild, in fact. So we'll just put this in, and I'm gonna toss it, and then I'll lower the heat. We want to get that nice and hot so that the garlic and the olive oil is just piping hot and cooks the scarola right down. Escarole is also a perfect green to put in your soups. So if you're making a minestrone and you don't want a Swiss chard in it, I put Swiss chard in my winter minestrone, but if you want a lighter green with a delicate taste, escarole is a wonderful option. Escarole is not a terribly popular green in the United States. We're not really used to eating it that much, but it's extremely versatile. So really something, if you haven't made it yet, you should try. So look at 2 minutes. This is 2 minutes of sauteing, and the scarola is really ready to go, ready to eat. I don't like to get it too much more wilted than this. This is really perfect. So I will turn the heat off now, add a little more olive oil to coat it, Sicilian sea salt, and just a dash of crushed red pepper. Perfect with all the delicious meats from our Sunday sauce. What a treat. So now the sauce is still cooking, and I'm going to make my ziti, my pound and a half of ziti. Of course, you're gonna cook as much pasta depending on how many people you have. Maybe you're having 12 for Sunday dinner, maybe you're having 4. So that will dictate how much pasta you're going to make. So I'm going to make my pasta now, and then I'm going to sauce it with the sauce from the Sunday sauce. I've plated the meat, which looks absolutely beautiful, and sauteed my scarola, my escarole. So we are good to go with our fabulous Sunday sauce with whole meats. Yum. So here we are with our beautiful Sunday dinner feast featuring my Sunday sauce. So you'll notice we have our pasta, our ziti with, I've taken the red sauce from the Sunday sauce and tossed the ziti with it. And here I've plated all the meat that was in the Sunday sauce. So we have meatballs, Italian sausage, veal chop, pork, country ribs, Italian sausage, all of it. And that will be our second course with our sauteed scarola in garlic and olive oil. Then all you have to do is add a lovely dessert like cannoli or tiramisu or anything of your choice, and look at the beautiful Sunday dinner you have with Sunday sauce. Sure to impress everyone, and everybody loves it. So, from my house to yours, tutti a tavola, buon appetito, ciao ciao.